In addition to being Director of Careers, I'm also overseeing our Oxbridge division. Hopefully you're aware that our Oxbridge outcomes, or the university outcomes generally, have been very strong recently. Indeed, they've gone up when most schools in the independent sector have seen their results go down. Ours has tripled without a big difference in the intake since 2016. And that's in part, probably down to some support and the things that we're doing to help maximise students' chances. I suspect there are probably three types of student in the room. There's the ones who know they're going to apply, plan to apply. There's the ones who are open to it but haven't decided. And then there are ones who may have been brought to it by their parents against their will. And I would encourage you, if you're in that latter group, please keep an open mind. Please pay attention, and there is a lot. But a few years ago, I got an email from a student who I honestly, and I wouldn't do this anymore, but back when she was thinking about applying, I did really strong on her because I thought she would enjoy it. And she was dropping out of applying to Oxbridge every other week. And then she eventually went, and she then emailed me a couple of years ago going, "Thank you for making me apply. I've had the 3 best years of my life," and she'd done loads of social things and studying so much more on top. So have an open mind if you're in that latter group. So the first bit of the presentation is going to be about sort of unique bits to Oxbridge, and the second part will be about the Oxbridge programme. So forgive me if some of the first part in particular you are familiar with, but it's important to cover this and maybe get some things that you won't know about. We joined by Susie Webster, who is a former Surbiton student, and she'll be speaking to you in the middle of my presentation about her experience at Oxford studying biology. She's now at Bristol doing accelerated veterinary medicine. Accelerated veterinary medicine degree to become a vet. So she's got a biology degree first at Oxford, and then now she's converting to being a vet. So, unique aspects of Oxbridge to Oxbridge and the Oxbridge application. So one thing we'll hear about is colleges. Colleges, anyone want to tell them what a college is? No, I like to make things interactive. It keeps us all awake. Anyone? Student? Parent? Okay, fine. Basically, I would say it's a bit like a Harry Potter house. So you go to Hogwarts, but you also have to be a member of the house. Same with colleges. So in your college, you have to go apply to the college, and you can make an application. You have to go to a college, and in your college, you will have some of your supervision, tutorials. So that's small group teaching you might have heard about. You will have, every college will have a hall where you might do some of your meeting. Every college will have a bar, so you might do some of your barroom. Every college will have a library, and it's also where you'll live. You might actually live in the college, or college-owned houses, or something like that. So it's sort of a mini university within the university. And the really good thing about colleges, one thing I heard was, it's university on a manageable scale. So whereas you might have an intake of 6,000 undergraduates in a year, in a college it will be something between 50 minimum to a few hundred, okay? And then so a total undergraduate, so 18 to 21-year-old population, something like 150, 202, maybe 800 max. So it makes things a bit more accessible. There are also good things like just sport and doing things in a more casual way. So while you have a university netball team and rowing team, you'll also often have those teams at a college level, maybe less competitive, more for fun. So it's got a lot of you get the advantages of the university, but you also have some of that special college characteristics. Also, sometimes when people think Oxbridge, they think old. Oxford and Cambridge are the richest universities in the UK, therefore they have state-of-the-art equipment and faculties and buildings. So it's not just all Harry Potter Hogwarts, it is state-of-the-art. That's the law faculty. Even from when I studied law at Cambridge, that was the law faculty. So it's still modern looking. There's some accommodation. There's that middle picture there is actually one of the modern college's halls. I think sits with it. So if you don't want to go, if you're not so keen on the whole Hogwarts stuff, there are also modern colleges you can apply to. So another unique part of the Oxbridge system is what are called supervisions at Cambridge and tutorials at Oxford. Anyone want to tell me what those are? See that? No? I know you know. Yes.
Small group teaching.
Small group teaching, yes. So, so it's in each of your papers on your degree, so I'll use law as an example, criminal law or contract law, you'll have a supervision or tutorial, a small group teaching, every few weeks per paper, okay? And for some subjects, often smaller humanities subjects, that could be one-on-one. For most subjects, it's small groups of 2, 3, something like that, okay? And you'll be given some reading to do in advance of that supervision tutorial. You go away and do that reading, you might have to write an essay for something like English, you might have to do some proper questions for science. And that is really your focus of your studies when you're at Oxbridge. And other universities don't do that. So you'll do all the things that are done at other unis, like lectures, in the sciences, labs. You might also have some seminars, like classes, not very many, but some of those. But the extra thing, and the thing that makes an Oxford education really expensive for the university to put on, because it's very labour intensive, are these small group teachings. Now, some students might think, oh, this sounds a bit intimidating, we sat with a criminal law academic who's leaving their field. Personally, I actually think it can be quite a de-stress in a way, because you've always got someone you can speak to, you've got easy access to, who can resolve the issues you're having with your studies, can support you with problems that come up, and it keeps you on track as well. You don't turn up to supervision generally, or tutorial, without having done the work. Whereas some other unis, you can maybe be able to get away with not doing the work, and then suddenly it all piles up on top of you. So it helps to de-stress, really, I think, in some ways. But you do need to be happy talking about your subject and talking about it with someone. Unique parts of the application. You can't apply to both universities, so it's Oxford or Cambridge, and then you have 4 other choices. So usually 4 other universities. It could be 2 courses at the same university. Okay? There is an early UCAS deadline, 15th of October. So if I look a bit tired, it's because I am slightly sort of hollowed out husk from meeting that deadline. And it's a lot of work to meet that deadline for students and staff. There's the earlier deadline. That's also the earlier deadline for medicine, veterinary and dentistry. All other universities, deadlines in January. Some subjects may require entrance tests. So these can be pre-interview, so some are happening this week, some will be happening in the half term. And some Cambridge tests, some are pre-interview, as in about now, or some are at interview. Okay? They are, if they do use them, they are very important, because particularly in competitive subjects, they get a lot of very well qualified applicants, they need to differentiate, and the admission tests are very important for that. Some, for the arts and humanities, you might have to submit some marked schoolwork that is your best and on a topic you're interested in. So you might take an essay you write in September year 13 on something in English that you really like, and they will have a look at that, look at your written style, but also might ask you questions about it in the interview. So that's not for sciences, but in the arts and humanities, for some arts and humanities. 1 or 2 essays usually. For Cambridge, there's an additional form. For most people, it's very basic, it's a data collection form. Don't worry about that, but you must complete it, because otherwise if you don't, application over. And then interviews and at-interview tests for Cambridge, where those are used, take place beginning of December to, it used to be mid-December, it's creeping up every year. So I wouldn't recommend booking holidays for the Christmas, before Christmas Day, maybe Christmas Eve would be okay, if you're considering applying to Oxbridge before that. And also, likewise, the half-term coming up. Avoid going on holiday if you might have to do an admissions test. The dates aren't quite yet released. I was having a look, I couldn't see them. When they are released, I'll let you know. Okay? So what are some good reasons for applying or not applying? So, first reason, I'm not academically suited to it. That is a good reason. If in fact you are genuinely not academically suited to it. But I'll come back to that because that's a really important thing. Some students think, oh, it's Oxbridge, all they do is work, it'll just be for people who basically all they do is study, it won't be fun, I won't go out. And to be fair, there are people who they just love their subject and what they want to do is go to the library and all powers their elbow. But if you are someone who is maybe more like this, these are all people who went to Oxbridge as well. So if you're a budding actress, you're a budding sports person, comedian, rower, whatever it might be, you will find your cohort, your friends there, and you will be okay. So long as you're academically suited to it, I really wouldn't worry about not having a good time. That is, and quite the reverse sometimes from some people. I risk wasting a UCAS space. That is a good reason if it's actually a risk. So this is a student who didn't want to apply to Oxbridge, and I said to her, I'm pretty sure you're going to get offers from other places. And remember, you can only actually go to one place. You have to choose a first choice and an insurance. And in her case, she didn't meet all five, and lo and behold, she applied, she got offers from everywhere. Okay? So if you're a realistic Oxbridge candidate, often you won't need all your 5 places. That said, there can be exceptions. When I meet the students who apply for the programme, I'll go into that if it's relevant. Medicine is a classic example. Medicine is competitive everywhere, so you could risk wasting space if you don't look like a really viable Oxford candidate that you might need for another medical school. Because I will have an interview. Interviews are part of life, you won't get a job without an interview generally. Although the Oxford interview is very different to an employment interview. But one thing to know, if that frightens you, it is only one part of the process. So a brilliant interview will not get you in if your entry test isn't good, or your grades aren't good, or whatever. And conversely, you can give a bad interview and still get in. Because your admissions test is brilliant and your paper application is brilliant. Okay, so it's not the being and ending, it's one part of the process. And you'll be talking about a subject hopefully you'll be interested in. Okay? And it's not an employment interview, so you can be really quite nervous, you may struggle with eye contact, there may be all sorts of things. They don't really care about that, so long as you can talk, however unsure you might be, about your subject and think critically and show your passion and ability. Okay? I might get rejected. That's an awful reason for not applying. Rejection is part of life. You will get rejected at some point, and it's my view on it is that's something that you will have to deal with at some point, so why not now? And if you do get rejected, you can reapply. That's the other thing. It's not a one-shot thing. Some of our most successful applicants have been re-applicants. People who didn't get in the first time, got their own level grades, and then reapplied and got in. So it's not necessarily the end of the road. It doesn't offer my course, I don't like their course. That is a good reason not to apply, provided it's true. Okay, and sometimes I think students have some misconceptions here. So here are some things I commonly hear. They don't offer the course I'm applying for. So, for example, this is a student didn't want to apply because she wanted to do English and drama. Now, actually, yes, they don't offer English and drama, but you can do English and you can do drama to a very high level, extracurricularly, that's the word. at both institutions. And you'll find that, you know, somewhere like the ADC Theatre, the student theatre at Cambridge, probably has more Oscar winners than a lot of drama schools. You know, so that is definitely a possibility. I don't like their course. So Cambridge psychology is too scientific, I prefer Bath. Sometimes these are misconceptions. Actually, it's the reverse. Cambridge, their psychology course, can be very scientific, but it can also be very social psychology and less scientific, whereas the Bath course is more scientific. So is actually your preconception correct? Making a mountain out of a molehill. So, yes, if you apply for theology, you will have to study a big biblical language. But it is one paper in your first year where they give you all the sort of vocabulary and reading in this book. You do it, and you never have to do it again if you don't want to. So, often on a course, you might have to set something up, but that sometimes is not an issue. Again, medieval English. Yes, you have to do medieval English potentially on the course, but if that's not doesn't float your boat, it's only one paper and then you don't have to revisit it. Pressure. So pressure, yes, Oxford probably in some ways will be more pressure. There will be one out of original work, but not always. If you're doing medicine, it's probably going to be as intensive wherever you go. That said, there's a lot of support because they're really rich. They have lots of counsellors, lots more staff, students, contact with the staff. There's the supervision tutorials. So there's a lot more support there, so that if things do build up, it's easier to resolve it, I would say. So that's a mixed one there, I think. So coming back to the, am I academically suited? So, on paper, let's start with paper. You're probably going to have mostly 8s and 9s at GCSE. For certain subjects, economics, law, some of the more competitive subjects, Oxbridge, you're probably going to have more 9s and 8s, maybe straight 9s. But I can talk to you, it really varies by subject, so I can talk to you, even when you apply, to whether that's a factor. Okay? You'll need a strong A-level performance. So the foundation, just like any other university, to an Oxford application is a strong A-level performance and getting the grades and support. Awful, doesn't happen often, but it does happen sometimes when a student gets an offer and they miss their A-level grades, because unfortunately in the world of Oxford, if you get a B in your A-levels, that's probably going to be the application over. So even they won't take you in a way that some universities are a bit more flexible results there. Okay, so your foundation is A-level studies. It's also important working with A-levels from day one and doing well, particularly in your end of year 12 exam results as far as you can. The reason for that, why do you think that is? Why do you think it's important to do well in your end of year 12 exam? I'm not saying you have to have absolutely immaculate results at the end of year 12, but why do you think that's important? Yes? Because it gives good indication. So one thing we all have to do is we will have to put predicted grades in your UCAS form. So, 2 A stars in a day, whatever it might be. Your teachers will give those predictions. I may have discussions with teachers and you to see if we can adjust them if necessary. But I need evidence, we need evidence to support those predictions. And your GCSEs give some evidence, that A-level is different to GCSEs. The next best bit of evidence is your end of year 12 exam results. Okay? Because you can predict 3 A stars, but if there isn't anything in the reference you like to support that, it might not be that convincing. So, do work. I can finesse it if you get a drop grade somewhere, or I don't have to declare all your results. I can, but if you've got 3 C's in your end of year exam results, there's not a lot that can be done there in that situation. We do retakes in September of year 13, so if that does happen, and you really serious about your application, you might want to think about retakes. It doesn't mean you have to do some studying over some holiday between 12 and 13. Strong entry test performance. If it's used, particularly in things like science, maths, law, medicine, veterinary medicine, physics, computer science, some of the more competitive courses generally, the entry test is so important. So we do put a lot of support in place, but that's something we need to be working on. Strong written work submissions, which I've talked about, those school essays, that you've picked the right subject and university. Okay, the profile for a biological scientist at Oxford is somewhat different to a biological natural scientist at Cambridge. They are not the same course, and they tend not to admit the same people. So that's something we give a lot of advice on. That's probably the single thing that has helped us, our expertise in this area, to improve our Oxbridge outcomes, that expertise, and students taking that on board. Engaging with your subjects and going beyond A-level, doing supercurricular, so lectures or MOOCs, you might have MOOCs like mini university courses online, extra reading, maybe a placement in a lab if you're going for sciences. All these things above and beyond A-level. They're not just looking for strong A-level performance. That's foundation. That you interview well. What does interview well mean? You're critical, so you can see complexity and discuss complexity and handle complexity. You're engaged, you're interested in the subject, so you can be brilliant. If you're not interested, they won't be there. And then you can verbalise your thought process, because the teaching style and supervision tutorials is based around speaking. You need to be able to verbalise your thought process. So if in a tutorial or an interview, which the interview is trying to replicate the supervision tutorial in any way, they say, give you a maths problem and you just go, the answer's 5. That is not an interesting academic conversation, right? Here on the other hand, you can say, well, and I don't know anything about maths, I'm making things up. The integers there, this, that, and the other, and actually I know that if you square prime, whatever that can lead to, I stopped maths GCSE, and then the answer is 5, or even the wrong answer, 4, that's still a better answer, because you verbalise your thought process. Okay, I should really use a law example. Whether you're viable or not may change in the course of the Oxford programme. So you may be a brilliant student who's got great GCSEs and a very, very good student who's going to go to great universities, but if your entry test, when you do mock entry test, if you're at a certain level, it might be that you know that that's probably not going to be viable, and it might be that depending on the entry test, some of them you can improve massively, others it's more difficult to improve. So your viability can change, also your interest can change, frankly. You may decide that it's a common run, actually I think I'm just better suited to the other side nursing courses. So, here are some of those oversubscribed courses. I'll let you just look at that while I drink water. And it's not just the, I don't want to be dispiriting, but it's not just the percentage chart, it's who you are in effect competing with. It is a competitive pool of people self-select out. So that would be 8% where maybe 30% of applicants are viable, okay? They just don't have enough places. And that is one of the issues of the college system. It's easier for other universities to increase their places because they just build more beds. But colleges can't do that. So that's why the numbers get more and more competitive, because there are more and more applicants with the same number of spaces. Less oversubscribed subjects, have a look at those. I didn't update these this year, but I'm sure they're probably about, so when we have conversations, I will make sure that I'm aware of what the current levels are. So, the one thing to say there is you'll notice some of them are quite unusual subjects. They're probably undersubscribed to people like, what's that never comes on their radar. Bear in mind that 2/3 of careers plus can be entered with any degree, so you will find people, I know someone who's a partner in a law firm who did a theology degree at Cambridge. And with someone else who did classics degree and they're a partner in a law firm. So you could do, in a lot of areas, you can indulge your academic interests and passions and still get a really good job. And The reason for that is employers can teach you how to do accounts, they can teach you how to do surveying, survey houses. They can teach you those things. What they want are the transferable skills. You can work hard, you can think critically, you can analyse documents, you can do all of these transferable things that you learn, particularly in an Oxbridge degree. Okay? Obviously, when you're thinking about going to that school of sciences, you might need some more specific degree qualifications. Although even then, you could do a biology degree and then do a master's to specialise in something if you need further qualification. So even in the sciences, there might be some flexibility. Now, is what I'm saying applies strategically? No, it isn't. I'm not saying that. But what I would encourage is that you, when I talk about the Oxbridge programme applying, first of all, over half time, I'd like you to explore broadly. I'm going to show you how to do it, and be open-minded. So that if you find a course you're really interested in, or maybe equally as interested in as history, like history, well, have you looked at Anglo-Saxon and Celtic studies? Okay? Or classics, or whatever it might be. You explore broadly, and come with an open mind to the meeting with me on the other side of half term. Okay? The other thing, a few logistical things to note. Oxford historically done more combined degrees, like English and French, or classics and English, or something like that. Cambridge don't do that, they have a few. What they do have is parts, do your degrees in 2 parts. So the way with Cambridge, you can sometimes do a combined degree, one after the other, right, rather than at the same time. So you do the part 1 in classics, first 2 years, and then you do part 2 in law. That was a classic thing to do, because classics was relatively undersubscribed compared to law. So when I was doing law, we had a lot of classicists in the second year, and the second year transferred into law. So if you're interested in both the subjects, and that you might want to think about going for the less oversubscribed subject, provided you're interested in for your part 1. That doesn't necessarily restrict your choices elsewhere as well. So you may be aware of the personal statement. Now you may also be aware that that's changing, and we will update you when we fully understand the changes. Mr. Owen will update you later, going to some training on me, concentrating on this. But initial assessment is that basically it's going to be the same, but just split up. Okay, don't take that as gospel right now. But for now, our advice is going to do exactly what we've always asked you to do, which is supercurricular, and engage with your degree subject through supercurricular that you will then be able to use in your new personal statement. Okay, but albeit in 3 sections. Now, the issue with that is sometimes people think, well, how can I apply for Anglo-Saxon and Celtic studies and then apply for history as well? So there are a number of ways to deal with that. One is you can write a personal statement which covers both subjects. So you talk about Anglo-Saxon history, and that covers Anglo-Saxon laws, and also it covers history and so on, right? Provided that's in the course. Some universities don't look at the personal statement, some. So if that's the case, you can find out which universities there are. So you can apply for whoever you like at those universities, the personal statement will affect it. Some other universities accept an alternative personal statement. So Durham is a classic example, and they just replace the UCAS personal statement with their own one, which is something one. And in that case, theoretically, you can apply for English at Oxbridge and Maths at Durham. Okay, so we would advise that, but theoretically. So there are different ways to manage that. It's not always possible. If you're trying to choose universities that look at the personal statement, and you're trying to apply for medicine at one and ecology at another, that's going to be difficult to square. But in some other areas, we square it. Okay, in terms of doing that research, well, the thing I'm going to ask you to do over half term, my advice would be type in Cambridge courses, Oxford courses, and Google. You'll have a list of subjects, and then from your A-level studies, from just things that maybe your Morrisby degree suggestions, career suggestions, look at the related subjects. So this is English, so if you do English A-level, you love it. Remember, 2 first careers can make you learning degrees, so you can do an English degree potentially. But crucially, that point I was going back to, look at their related courses. So you've got Anglo-Saxon laws, you've got classics, you've got education, linguistics, MFL. So look at the related subjects. So explore your initial interest, which will probably be A-levels, or something vocational like medicine and law, but then look at the related subjects and then spec. Watch the video, look at further resources, don't just rely on the spec. The spec, particularly in use courses, tells you very little. If it says contract law, really you know what contract law will involve. So you're going to need to engage, particularly in new subjects, by actually watching lectures, doing a bit of study in that area. And the resources tab, Oxford and Cambridge both have those, and that will have more supercritical things that you can do to test out your interest. Okay, how to enhance your chances. So coming back to some repetition here, choose the right subject at the right university. Listen to your gut, you need to go for what you want to do, but also listen to our advice, be open-minded. Engage in supercurricular. There's something called the Surbiton Supercurricular Bible. It's usually on the website, it isn't at the moment, but it will go live and I will share it with students. So that has a repository arranged by subjects of these MOOCs and university courses, reading, online lectures, loads of things you can do to further your interest in your subject. Okay? Engage with Oxbridge mentoring, go, be flexible with your mentor about when you can do it. You know, if they want you to stay after school, stay after school. You know, you can. And also the events that the Oxbridge team, which is me and a few other staff have overseen the mentoring programme, the things that we do. So for example, come to the Oxbridge open days that happen at the end of year 12 summer term. We have some students who've missed it because they've gone off on a trip or something like that, and that can sometimes cause problems because they haven't often explored college choices, because they've all got those open, the whole university is open to you. Being on top of your application, you know, at this point the thing you'll be doing is the research, but then you'll kind of thinking about things you can do which over time, having done them over the year, these supercurricular will help you write a personal statement, albeit the new version. Okay? Test prep. You know, you can't prep for that. You've got a test. You can't prep for it all in autumn term. And we will support you doing this and bringing out external people to do this as well. But you need to be doing that in year 12. Try to be resilient. You know, it is a competitive process. So try when you can to roll with the punches. You know. But at the end of the day, it's not the be all and end all. You can reapply anyway, remember. So just try and understand that about the process. Link to that, don't overload yourself. Okay, so if you do one big sport, maybe think about how much more you take on top of that. It can be that can be a big commitment. Things like, and by all means do these things if you can manage it alongside your application. But things like GPN, things like MUN, these sorts of things you think you need for a university course, that probably won't count very much to your application. They're good things to do for personal development, for interest, but you need to be mindful of how much you take on and overload yourself, because ultimately the best Oxford applicants are people who engage in do the supercurricular related to their degree. All the extra things, frankly, Oxford and lots of other universities are not that interested in it. Employers down the line will be, because you're developing important skills, and it's important for developing those skills. But to be frank, unlike the system in the US, British universities tend not to be that interested in those things. Okay? There are a few exceptions, particularly very vocational healthcare degrees. So with a medicine application, your personal statement will have a bit of science, but it will be mainly about your suitability for the destination career. So examples of you showing the skills that the doctor needs: care, empathy, communication, resilience, these things. Okay. That's an exception. The foundation to your application to Oxbridge and other universities is your A-levels. You must, the A-levels are the foundation, they are the focus, and then the application on top of that with the supercurricular involved. Okay? But you do have students who get sidetracked by supercurricular and they go off and do mountains of it and then end up neglecting their A-levels. Don't do that. Foundation is the A-levels and then the supercurricular on top. Don't overthink this. If after discussion with me, you are, I'm saying you look like you might be viable, it's hard. You won't know, in November whether you're a viable applicant or not. But you may as well have a go, because you've got 5 choices. And if you're a realistic applicant, chances are you're going to get offers from other places. And often it's by going through the process, going up to interview, that students go, oh, actually this might be for me. So don't self-select yourself out based on assumption. The student I cited at the beginning of this talk, she was exactly that. She did not want to apply. She went to interview through gritted teeth and then loved the interview. And that was the moment where she went, oh, maybe I can do this. Okay, and she got off. So go through the process and work out whether it's for you. The other good thing about interview, most universities don't interview you, but because they're meeting you, they're working out, are you suited to study here? And not just basing that on a UCAS score. So the chances of you being happy, because you've got that extra element in the applications where they're working out, are they suited to us, will they be happy here, increases the chances you'll be really contented if you get an offer. Okay, you're going to go there. Also, gap year application, as you can reapply. Some students, if your GCSEs don't look viable, for example, this could be a reason. Sometimes my advice is focus on A-levels, get really strong A-level grades, and then we can look at an Oxbridge application. Because at that point, GCSEs become far less important. All right, so there are some students where I might have that conversation, say, I would not spend time on all this extra stuff in the application, and focus on getting 3 really strong A-level grades, and if you get the entry requirements, we will support you. And every year, this year, I'm supporting one applicant who didn't apply last year and got the grades and now they're applying. A few years ago, I supported 4, 2 of which got in, okay, which is a very high conversion rate. The reason being, they had 3 A stars, they had 4 A stars, and particularly for Cambridge, they love that. Oxford are less bothered about but Cambridge historically have loved more A stars at A-level because they've done a lot of research into how those students perform. So because you're applying with the grades in the bank, it gives you a better shot, particularly with Cambridge. Okay, these are the characteristics I'm talking about, and I'll share this. You get this document and anyone who joins the program. First slide is, do you remember this? It's still. Yeah. So these are the skills we're trying to develop, that you're learning outside the classroom, that's super curricular. You're passionate. So that and I suppose the way you show passion is through this, but you can answer the question, why my subject in an interesting way? Not, why do you want to study geography? Well, you can't understand humanity without understanding the world. That's a bit of a boring answer. But if you can give an interesting answer, that shows the passion. The interesting answers come from having a really engaged with the subject. That you're resilient in all senses, right? So, resilient to having a go, applying. Resilient in interview. If someone disagrees with you, if you can't do something in an interview, you don't just fold, you can work through that. So, different types of resilience. That you can verbalise your thought process, and back to that interview example of the student who just says 5 versus a student who works through the maths. And then you think critically, you don't see things as overly simplistic. You can see the complexity and you can challenge things on face challenge things that are presented at face value. Okay. Right. Thankfully, this is the next bit after this will be me talking about the actual Oxford programme. I'm now going to hand over to Susie, so you can see her background there. And she will speak to you about her experience at Oxford. And at the end, we're happy to stay around and answer some questions, to maybe save the questions for then. And we can do that like this, but also you will come up at the end and we can do that as well. I do need to get my fast train on, have dinner and go to bed. I do need to get by about 20 to 9. Okay, just But I'm also happy to meet you as well, settle in, discuss and chat with them. Okay, Susie, thank you. It's your bit.
Some pictures of me having fun. Okay, so my notes are on my phone, so I shouldn't use them too much. So, my name's Susie, and I graduated in 2022 from Hartford, and I left Surbiton in 2017. It took me a while to figure out when I graduated. I feel really old now, I'm 25, but a lot of people in this room will probably say that's not that old, but I do feel old. I've basically been asked to speak a bit about my Oxford experience, why I loved it so much. It obviously will slightly apply to Cambridge as well. It's basically the same, but Oxford is better. Sorry. My route in was a little road. I applied in my year off. I guess it was partially my GCSE grades, partially all the kind of misconceptions Mr. McDermott said about not really thinking I was the right candidate or that it was for me. I did have the most amazing 4 years. It's a little bit marred by COVID, but the biological sciences, it's just changed to a 4-year integrated master's course, and we were the first year to get the 4th year. We weren't meant to be, but because of COVID, they felt sorry for us and were like, here's another year. I went to Hartford. That's the biology gang in the top left. From all years, we have an annual dinner called Darwin Dinner on Darwin's birthday, where we all go back, all the alumni. It's brilliant. I didn't actually apply to Hartford. I applied to Jesus, but I love Hartford. It's amazing. So I'd say don't focus too much on what college. There are certain things to consider, but you will love whatever college you go to, and will always say yours is the best. Hartford has 81% state school intake, so huge diversity of people and experiences, which is what made it so cool. Everyone talks about the Oxford difference, but what does that actually mean? So Mr. McDermott said a bit about it, but the college system. So it's kind of like one big family. It's really easy to make friends that way. It's daunting going to university. You've been in school. It's been all, sometimes not always, but happy and supportive. And then you go and you're like, without my parents, what do I do? And the college system is brilliant for that aspect of it. You have a college family, so I have parents, grandparents, cousins, children, grandchildren, probably great-great-great-grandchildren by now. You get to know the staff as well. So I knew the porters by name. They're I say the guards of college, but they're not really. They're the people at the front who get your parcels and you chat to and do all that stuff. I knew the whole catering team. I am chatty, but still. The cleaning staff, I knew everyone, and it was just so lovely. And we also have a cat at Hartford called Simkin. I think he's the 4th cat. Is he Simkin the 4th? Some colleges have college pets, which is really fun. Like I said, there are certain things to consider with colleges, do you want to be in the city centre, or do you, want accommodation? But at the end of the day, like I said, you like all of them, and sometimes you don't get to choose which college you go to. A bit about the tutorials. Like Mr. McDermott says, it's really hard to fall behind because you have to prepare and discuss. So with biology, it was an essay. So a question that we had to write an essay for. In first year, you didn't get to choose, but in second and third year, you got to choose. So I did ones on penguins, golden rice, you name it, I probably did it. You get to discuss really cool topics with people who are leaders in their field, which if I just speak out for a second, that's really cool. Personalised feedback. So when I first read an essay, we thought an essay was terrifying, and now I can just whip them out quite easily. scary. One of my tutors, Timothy, always had ginger biscuits and tea and coffee. Although I remember my first tutorial, I asked for a tea and he gave me coffee. And I don't drink coffee, but I was too scared to say that I asked for a tea, so I just sat there and drank the coffee. There is a lot of work. It is more work, but it is manageable. And if you're the person that's applying to Oxbridge, you can cope with the work. And it's also, because it's like what you're used to, it doesn't feel like a lot of work, but then you might see a friend at another uni who, I don't know. But I didn't struggle with it. If you're here and you're applying, you'll be absolutely fine. There are so many things to get involved with. So at a uni and a college level, there's over 200 societies at university level, but at college level there'll be way more, because kind of the university society will have a college level society. So I was never that sporty at Surbiton, but I did like college netball, college hockey, because it was like a really nice way to meet people from across the years in like a non-scary competitive environment. I also got involved in equestrian, LGBTQ plus society. I took up rowing at college, which was really, really fun and a really relaxed, fun, like nice environment. I got involved with like welfare on the JCR committee, which is like the college body of undergraduate students. So I did a lot. And you do have lots of fun. It's such a unique university experience, but such a brilliant one. You have so much time to do other things, like, again, I'm plugging Oxford here, but Oxford is an amazing, amazing city. You've got the Botanic Gardens, you've got punting, you've got all the cafes, you can go to so many different libraries. It's not all about studying, but it's fun. You don't have to go to having been at Bristol, but you don't have 3 libraries to choose from, whereas at Oxford I had loads, and it was, it's fun, and you can go to the Harry Potter library, so. It's so much to get involved in. Some of the common misconceptions, posh, yes, there are extremely posh people, but it's a bit like the people that Miss McDermott was saying that always study. You don't really see them, and they kind of hang out with each other. So I didn't really, sorry, I'm not just speaking microphone. I didn't really see many of them or interact with any of them. They kind of keep themselves to themselves. It is diverse. I think Oxford's under a very specific microscope, and for good reasons. There's always more we can do with diversity. But compared to some friends at other universities, I think Oxford is far more diverse. And there's so many kind of societies and kind of student bodies to get involved with: LGBTQ SOC, Islamic Society, Christian Society, Viennese Society. There's so many groups of people to relate to. Pressure. There might be a slightly higher workload, but it comes with extra support, and it doesn't mean you don't have a university experience. I had a great time. Plus, and you get to study in local libraries. You don't work all the time. I treat it a bit like a 9-to-5 job or a 9-to-5 school day. Did I work at weekends? Probably before a deadline, but not really. And I still came out with first, so. Didn't take over my friends' lives at all. You speak to anyone, and it's great fun, you love it. And when you're applying there and that's what you want to do, you're a geek for your subject. A cool geek, but a geek for your subject, so you love it. What do we do now? I'm studying veterinary medicine. My parents are allowing me another 4 years at university. So it'll be 8 years in total by the end. And my friends have gone into all sorts. It doesn't limit what you do. I have friends that done law conversions or have gone into consultancy work for the government, work, NGOs, charities. Some are doing PhDs in really niche, specific things that even I don't understand. there's no limit to what you can do. And I'd say, if you're a suitable candidate, go for it, because I didn't think I was, and here I am. And I'm just going to go off in a minute. I absolutely love it. So I loved it, and I wish I could go back and do it again. Thank you.
We will save questions at the end. I'll try and get through the next bit, which is about the programme, quicker than the first part, so that we can leave more time for questions. So, the programme is overseen by me, Mr. Jackson Spears, and we sort of assign, I meet with the students when they apply to the programme. We assign mentors. I'll talk about in a minute. We do, on top of the mentoring, we do extra things like organise the test prep, the interview prep, the activities like the open days, those sorts of things. Then you've got a mentor, you've got a subject-specific mentor. So here's some examples of the mentors. We've got some great people who will support you and understand how to maximise your chances of an offer. Just see that quickly. So, Oxford programme. So I will meet you, if you apply, November, December time for a chat. It might be a short chat, it might be a longer chat, depending how much we have to discuss. If you come and say, I want to do this, and I've always wanted to do this, and I've done all this work experience, and here are my grades, and I might be able to go, fine, and we'll take it later. Other things, it might be a lot more about what subjects you're going to do. Like you can also to Oxford or Cambridge, and there may be other longer things to talk about. So I've then assigned mentors to mentees, and mentoring tends to start around February of year 12, and it continues up to the interviews in year 13, December, okay? The mentors, they'll help you explore your interests, and also bits of the A-level or the course that you are familiar with. So, for example, if you're going for theology, and you're doing RS at the moment, probably don't do sociology as religion, okay? So they might do that with you, all right? They'll help you finalise your subject if relevant. You might have a number of mentors to begin with. I try not to give you more than 2, just because it's just the work, the actual demand on staff and also the students. But if you're choosing between physics and biology, then you're probably going to have biologists and physicists, okay? They can discuss reading, gallery visits, all the things that you can do to further your application. And as you progress, you'll start to maybe develop some of these interview type skills. So trying to replicate supervision. So they might give you some reading to do 10 minutes or 15 minutes or half an hour before your mentoring meeting, and then discuss it with you and question you. A bit like what the interview will be like, which is trying to replicate these supervisions or tutorials. So a lot of unseen material, responding to unseen material. It's very common to be given a problem sheet or an article or something for an interview that you've got then to deal with in the interview. So that we work on that. Developing technical skills, particularly admissions tests. So your mentor will support with that as far as they can, but we also bring in external people to do this as well. And then it's really important that we use the results from these practices to finesse your application. So it might be, we try the classics test for Oxford, we try the classics test for Cambridge, and we see which one you're better at, okay? So that we can get that choice right and maximise your chances of getting an offer. And then also the mentor will oversee the kind of bits of the application, like the personal statement, like the written work submissions. They'll oversee that. Alongside that is what we mean as Ms. Jackson run, so various activities I've just mentioned. There are things you can do yourself. So in spring, there are the Cambridge Masterclasses. Have a look at the Masterclass on the Cambridge website. Now, they are great for exploring subjects, particularly new subjects that you haven't thought about. So if you're thinking about law, you might also want to look at land economy. But what on earth is land economy? Go on the Masterclass. That's a really good insight. You go up for a day and they have mock lectures, they have info about it. Competitions, academic competitions. I sent one around today or yesterday. We've got a £5,000 prize, poetry competition. But we put those in the careers newsletters, which are in the careers area on the website. And so the final section of each careers newsletter is a list of academic competitions in the sciences, in law. And often what you'll be given is a title of an essay or some kind of problem, and you submit a response, and that is judged often by Oxford academics. They're often run by Oxford colleges. And those things help you to differentiate your application, to put it in your personal statement. They also enable you to research an area. So that it does the super curricular I was talking about, the Code Personal Statement, for you. And you don't need to win. Having done it, it's actually useful, just so you benefit. I mentioned the trips. Please know Oxford they haven't published the data, but usually in activity week, and we will do a trip. I just found out that Cambridge are just outside the term, so it will be up to you to go on that trip yourself. Please do go. And please also, don't just go, I know I'm going for Oxford, therefore I'm just going to go to Oxford every day. Go to both, because every year people change their mind after the Olympics. Really important. Go to both. Unless it's not for you. You know you're an architect, you're going to do that at Cambridge. And then we also organise mock interviews. So there will be a mock interview, Oxford mock interview, later in the summer term. Year 13, we ask you to finalise your choices on return in September, your subject, your institution, your college, your personal statement, new format, what we need to complete early September, if at all possible, because the deadline is early, much earlier than other students, right? And please be aware that we need to stagger your send-offs for university, because this year we have 34 applicants. Each send-off, just a send-off takes about an hour with me. There's lots of prep before that. One student this year who's applying for a certain subject, I've probably spent 5 hours just on her working with her personal statement. So if you multiply that by 34, don't do that for most of them, that's a lot of hours. So when your application is ready, that's 10th September, brilliant. Send it, and then you can focus on far more important stuff, test prep, interview prep, those things. Get your application off. Your application, obviously, is essential, but it's the least difficult bit and important bit in a way. It tests the interview. Written work submissions, we will help you with that, but the deadlines for those are in early November. So for Cambridge, it's the first day back after half term, so we're getting them all off by tomorrow. Okay? So it's important forward, particularly in summer term for the arts and humanities students, to put extra effort into some of your essays. Okay? And try and not only get an A star, the high, good, write a really good essay which meets the spec, but also make sure you, for a purist point of view, write a really good essay in an area that you're happy to talk about in an interview. Okay, so that's something you can do this side of the summer, right? Because then that means we're not scrabbling around just before half term trying to find a big better work for you that's going to show you the best. Follow our guidance, generally follow our guidance, we know what we do, the proof of that is the stats, the outcomes. Pre-interview tests. So dates, I don't think they're being published this year, but they are external now. Most of them used to be in school. We cannot organise them anymore. They're all done externally by Pearson, generally Pearson. So that is up to you to book and meet all deadlines. We used to do a lot of it for you. It's no longer in our control. And they're probably around middle of October, so some this week, and then into the half term. So don't book half term holidays, basically. Even if you're not sure whether you have to do a test, I would just leave that looking anything until later when we definitely want something to go. We'll also provide some external interviews, some mock interviews in the autumn term, just before the interviews, and then the interviews are in December, as well as a CAT interview test. That's just Cambridge. Okay? So, Oxford or Cambridge, we will give you lots of advice, particularly conversation with me. If I say have an open mind, have an open mind, please have an open mind. They are basically the same place, as Susie said. Oxford's a bit bigger, buzzier, Cambridge is prettier. So Oxford, some differences, they use the entry tests more to deselect the interview. Cambridge interview them. So those pre-interview tests, they use them to deselect. Now for some courses, they may use them quite brutally to deselect. So for example, economics at Oxford, they only interview about 17% of applicants. They use your GCSEs plus your admissions test score to, on a better word, cull the other 80% of applicants. Okay, so, but that varies. Some subjects will all into about 50%, 40%. Cambridge is more data-driven on the whole, that almost about A stars. So if you're a student who looks like they're going to get 4 A stars, you're ending your 12 exams on top of each of your subjects, and we will put that in the reference, by the way, if that's the case. We'll say, in a cohort of 30 chemists, X, the top of the cohort with a clear A star, in a subject where a third of our students historically get A stars. Cambridge love that kind of data, right? Because they want students who are going to get 4 A stars, 3 A stars. Although they often tend to do that. Your subject choice must lead your decision. So, you know, and also where you're most suited to. So if you are more a biologist like Susie, you would apply for biology at Oxford. If you are a scientist who loves the admissions test and might be a little bit quieter and shy in interview, you might be more likely to go for Cambridge. And say you do it further out. Say, you might be more likely to go for biology or natural sciences at Cambridge. So, the subject choice and where you're more competitive should lead the decision. And as I said before, flexibility here, not to be strategic, but be open-minded, if relevant, is probably the single biggest thing you can do and have under your control to maximise your chances. College choice. Basically, don't sweat this too much because it shouldn't really affect your chance of getting in. All right, that's the first thing. They don't want to disadvantage people who just happen to apply to a college that's particularly popular that year for that subject. Right, so they have mechanisms called the pool at Cambridge, I don't know what they call that, so they call it pool as well. The pool to try and manage differential levels of application at college. So the big takeaway, not an issue. If we think there might be an issue, and I won't go into the details, we'll let you know when we can discuss it. It's very important that you come back in year 13 with college choice made and with reserves. It is the bane of my life when students say, I'm only applying for that college, that's it. Partly because other students might want to apply to that college. And we try to avoid having too many students applying to the same college. The reason for that, there isn't a problem in 2 students applying to the same college. Generally, that won't disadvantage you. And that's when you need reserves. And also, there's no point in wedded to a college because there's a 50% chance that Oxford you'll end up somewhere else, and about 25% at Cambridge. So you cannot be wedded to your choice because there's a very good chance, particularly Oxford, you'll end up somewhere else. Okay, student parent role. I'm nearly done. Okay, basically, actually, have a quick read of that. The main point there is I do work on the assumption, because this is only one part of my role and my own this career, that students and parents will talk to one another and students will keep parents updated about issues. If I will send out correspondence with certain key deadlines to parents, but it would literally be an encyclopedia Britannica as in everything, because it's also subject dependent. So there has to be a limit to that. But if you want to come and speak to me as a parent, very welcome to. If I could suggest at this sort of time of year, May, early June, partly my capacity, partly because it's still when things can be changed. When it happens sort of mid-December, mid-September to mid-October, the Oxbridge deadline, it's often rather late in the process, and frankly, I'm at school till it closes every night until the 15th of October, so I have more limited capacity in that time. So it's very hectic, but that's a really good time to do it. So final tips, think about how much extra curriculum you take on, manage your workload. Be open-minded to different subjects. I will send around a version of this PowerPoint in some form. There's a video on our website of previous students talking about subject choice we've got in. Work hard in individual exams. Keep on doing ongoing extra supercurricular. So not extracurricular, sport, supercurricular, music. Super is academic related to your subject study. You don't have, if you're reading a book you don't find it interesting, put it down. Remember, these are your passions. If you don't find it interesting, put it down. But think about what does that tell you. You're not finding this law book very interesting, should you be applying for a law book. Don't grade the Oxbridge programme if you're not interested in Oxbridge. We introduced from the careers department like a mini Oxbridge programme in the spring of year 12 for all students. And that's because some of the things, the supercurricular, are relevant to all students applying to university. So do something similar in groups, regardless of whether you're applying to Oxford or not. But a lot of the other stuff is Oxford specific, the entry tests, the interviews. So it would be overkill to do Oxbridge, because a lot of those extra things are not relevant to other universities. So what next? Look, search the courses broadly, the way I showed you on the Oxbridge website, Oxford Independent Schools website. If you are struggling for ideas, think about A-levels you enjoy. Very much you do experience degree, but also in your modesty destination section, you have degree suggestions based on your modesty. That's another source of ideas. And then to apply to the Oxford programme, it's very straightforward. It can be a very short email. Degree subject you're considering, Oxford or Cambridge. Either is a very good response, being open-minded, remember. But if you're applying for architecture, you know that, it's only Cambridge. With GCSE results and A-level subjects. And any extenuating circumstances. If you underperformed GCSE, some things like that, you can put that in there and we can discuss. Anything else you think I should know, you know. Well, in an ideal world, I'd apply for English, but I'm worried that my parents want me to apply for English, they want me to do this, that, or whatever it might be, just give me, just put some details in there, as long as it's not nothing defamatory. And send that by the end of Tuesday, so the second day back after half term. And then I will meet with everyone with your plans. Remember, if any initial chat, you're not committing yourself to it, you're not signing a contract in blood with me, so if in doubt, apply. Explore over the half term. There's no one type, although you will likely meet a certain academic profile. If I'm feeling actually you may as well go for it, then when you think about going for it, we're pretty inclusive, but I might say to some students, I don't think this is realistic, and that would be because there is strong evidence that it isn't realistic. I might say to some other students, focus on A-levels, and if you get the relevant A-level grades, by all means we will support the gap year application. I think that's a better answer. So, questions? Well, I would imagine I've got about 10 minutes. Any questions? Yes?
Does 4 versus 3
4 versus 3, no, unless it is probably further maths. So if you're you're going for physics, computer science, maths, possibly lots of chemistry, then further maths is important, and that's usually studied as a core.
Can I just follow up on that? Do they ask for grades?
Generally, Oxford don't. Cambridge can do. Cambridge are a little bit. Oxford tend to stick with what's on their website. Cambridge, they do all sorts of things. So the entry requirements for natural sciences are 2 A stars and an A. They might make a full grade offer. They might make a higher offer. When they're not sure about you, maybe, they might make a higher offer. Last year we had a lot of, maybe not push that's not the right term, one of the criteria is this person at the academic standard we need, will know that if they get 4 A stars. So they might, in those circumstances, make a higher offer. And that actually happened with quite a few of our applicants last year in particular. I was quite worried about them meeting their atypically high offers at Cambridge, and all of them did. So and that obviously is going to reassure Oxbridge, Cambridge, yes, they're at the level we need, so they're very well. Yeah.
Is there a disadvantage about being private?
Actually, it's a typical question. It's less about the school you're in, it's more about the background you come from. So what I often say is, unless you're going to move, if you live in a nice house in a nice area, unless you're going to move to a less nice place where people who don't come from those backgrounds are more, those areas are more disadvantaged, it should make a difference. The way that students at Tiffin are viewed and students at Surbiton will be very similar, because it's a similar sort of profile of background. But obviously, if you come from a single parent family with your background was, unemployed or whatever it might be, and you are performing well in your GCSEs and you're performing in your A-levels, yes, you may be treated differently to a student applying for this school. So it's not straightforward as state versus private. And that goes to GCSEs, so they will contextualise your GCSEs. So 8s and 9s at Surbiton might be judged the same as a student who got straight 7s at an academy in somewhere in wherever, because it's not the same level of attainment and achievement in the two schools. Anything else? Any other questions? Any questions for Susie?
I'm not scary.
You good? Yeah.
It was just, not that I didn't want to ask you a question.
No, no,
I've forgotten the name of it, but there's the extracurricular project that you can study. Is that deemed a good idea? Not a good idea?
It's a good idea if it will help you do supercurricular. So it's a good idea to do if that can be a good vehicle for supercurricular, because that will, because of doing it, when you do the reading, it will help you write your personal statement. It's not going to affect your chances of an offer per se, other than in so far as it's a vehicle for doing that extra supercurricular. Anything else? I'm happy to stay around for another 5 minutes or so.
The 2 minute questions that you have on the slide there. Do other universities get results like negative results from
This one here?
and one of our customers?
It's personal statement, what I answered earlier. So it can be a problem, but it's not necessarily a problem. I will discuss that very well. Can you put yourself at a disadvantage? No, is the answer, because it's not like it was when I applied with the paper form. They can't see where else you applied, so it won't disadvantage you in applying to Derry or secondaries. And also extracurricular for Oxbridge doesn't make a difference. Okay, other than it's related to medicine or managed medicine that you've done relevant work experience or something. Extracurricular, that you're a GB rower, that might have made a difference 50 years ago, doesn't make a difference now at all. Because, not least because Oxford would be, front page of various newspapers. So, with that. So it may be the case of the past like that. Yes?
If you are called for interview, are they only doing virtual interviews now, or are they actually face-to-face?
Oxford is still virtual. Cambridge are a mix. There are about 8 colleges, 1 college that are now doing in person again. So, yeah.
Do the interviews usually take place with a single person or
No, it's generally 2 people, generally. 2 people. Quite more than that, 2 people. Yeah.
So you said that you had 34 people who were going through the programme.
Who've applied, just applied. Yeah.
Just applied. And what would you hope? 1/3 of them? Or
I'd never do it based on the number of applicants. It's because we have a far more applicants. If I'm being honest, some applicants will be unrealistic. So it's not, but you know, if they want to go, they can have to go. So I never based it on that. It's more compared to our historic performance and what's happening in other independent schools in particular. How we do it, and you know, we're going up. So that's the and students are, you know, applying for subjects that they are passionate about with research. Well, yeah. Go for which.